The New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation promotes, preserves, and perpetuates music, culture, and heritage through programs, cultural, educational, and economic activities year-round. Learn more at jazzandheritage.org. This program is brought to you in part by the Eugenie and Joseph Jones Family Foundation, a local foundation proud to support education, the arts, and culture in the greater New Orleans area. The Chicory House Bistro at the Rink offers breakfast and lunch daily. And now a new bar upstairs inside the Garden District Bookshop, 2727 Britannia Street at Washington Avenue. Learn more at therinknola.com. Steppin Out is made possible in part by Susie and Pierre G. Villery.
Whether it's the latest museum exhibit, the newest restaurant, or the current hot play,
we appreciate the weekly updates on the arts, music, and entertainment. Let's step out.
I'm Peggy Scott Laborde, and welcome to Steppin Out, with updates from the local restaurant, arts, and entertainment scenes. Joining me, Poppy Tooker, host of Louisiana Eats on WWNO Radio. Hello, Miss Poppy.
Hello, Peg.
She's back, Chef Dee Lavigne of the Deelightful School of Cooking. And of course, she's involved with the Southern Food and Beverage Museum, because that's where it's housed. Great to catch up with you. So exciting to see you. And Richard Sexton. And Richard has a brand new book out called New Orleans, A Photo Guide to the Wild Melange. It's great to see you, Richard. Hello.
Great to be here.
And a little later, oh my goodness, a founder of the Meters and beloved New Orleans guitarist Leo Nocentelli will perform for us and preview an upcoming concert. Alan Smason returns next week. Poppy, let's start with some restaurant news from the North Shore.
From the North Shore, I really wanted to introduce everybody to my friend Carlos Sanchez, because that's Carlos of Covington's Tournesol Bakery and Cafe, right there in downtown Covington. And truly, Carlos exemplifies the very best of American immigrant population. He fled El Salvador in the 1990s due to the Civil War there, and he came to the United States via Los Angeles, got a job as a dishwasher because of the language barrier, but then he quickly showed his stuff and was capable of really becoming an important part of a restaurant kitchen. He worked under skilled French chefs and bakers. He married, he had a son, and then his wife tragically died of cancer. Here you see Carlos with his new family, because after he came to New Orleans, because there was family here, when his first wife died, he met a lovely woman. They have a family of their own now too. His eldest son is now grown, you see him. But anyway, he began working in New Orleans under one of my favorites, Dominique Rizzo, who then had La Boulangerie. And he worked there through the Donald Link transition. So he worked many years for Maggie Scales, also, who is the pastry chef there. And with the product they were doing there in 2017 at the Southern Food and Beverage Museum, they gave him Best Baguette. In 2018, they gave him Best Croissant in New Orleans. And then during the pandemic, he and his wife decided they really wanted to do their own thing and were brave enough to open up Tournesol. Now, it's the place is called Tournesol. That's French for sunflower, which happens to be his wife's favorite flower, which is just so romantic. I love that. And what he is doing there is just remarkable. And this is from his own hands. He's baking bread. I understand there's a lot of people keeping the Sabbath with his challah every Friday. He makes beautiful French pastries. He has a very special twist on croissants, and you can have a lemon or a raspberry croissant along with, of course, a plain or the almond we all love. in a nod to his El Salvador heritage, he also makes beef hand pies. There's a guava and cream cheese hand pie. Of course, he makes a killer tres leches. And just look at all of that beautiful, beautiful, fine French pastry work. There's nothing I love like that. So in addition, he serves delicious sandwiches and soups. Tournesol is a real community hotspot. I understand high school kids love to come in after school. Look how beautiful that is and hang out. And what I'd really like to point out too is the type of character that he has, because he's open on Sundays from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. and he's open Tuesday through Friday from 7 a.m. till 5 p.m. He's not open on Saturdays. And the reason is because he's a Seventh-day Adventist, and they believe in keeping the Sabbath holy. And so bravo to somebody who's running their own business and brave enough to close on a Saturday. You know what I mean? You don't see that much. Talk about bravery. We all know what those chefs in Asheville are going through. We lived through Katrina. And you know, something that the New Orleans hospitality community does better than just about any place else is help. And so there is a project called Cooks for Carolina. It's benefiting the Always Asheville Fund, which is giving grants to small independent restaurants. And for the next month and a half or so, there's an incredible number of events going on. It's kicking off Sunday with Adolfo Garcia at La Boca. And then there's 2 chefs from Asheville who are coming to help out. There's a big event on Monday the 11th at Paradigm Gardens that's bringing together La Petite Grocery, La Boulangerie, Saffron Nola, Mr. Mao, and Mofo. And then some special small events like Sunday the 17th, John Harris is hosting an event at Lillette. On Tuesday the 19th, Donald Link, Stephen Stryjewski, and Ryan Pruitt are having an event. There's dinners at Mr. Mao, Commander's Palace, Emerald's, Galatoire's. Wow. Susan Spicer's doing a special one at Rosedale. So let's all go out and eat for the good of those poor chefs in Asheville, because they need our help now.
Exactly. Cooksforcarolina.com.
Cooksforcarolina.com. Yes. Thanks.
Well,
Peg.
Chef Dee, it's great to have you, and we're just so glad that you can be with us today.
Thank you.
Because I know your schedule's pretty crazy, but you are celebrating an anniversary that you wanted us to be aware of.
Yes, it's the 75th anniversary of the cooking show for Chef Lena Richard. So I've really been dedicating a lot of my adult culinary life, just trying to preserve the legacy of Chef Lena Richard.
And let's explain who that was. She was an amazing lady.
She was a wonderful lady, born September 11th, 1892 in New Roads, Louisiana. She grew up right here in New Orleans. I think she got her first job somewhere around 13 or 14 years old. She was working with her mom and her aunt for a local family, doing domestic work. She was working in the kitchen. That family had taken a liking to her and eventually sent her to culinary school. At that time, it was the Fannie Farmer Cooking School in Boston. And that was it. I mean, she did that. She graduated from there in 1918. I think she was about 26 years old when she graduated.
And she had her own TV show, which is so remarkable.
That in itself is remarkable. She was the first woman to have a television show live, definitely within at least that time frame. Often said more than a decade before Julia Child. So if you can think about how long she was on television, it actually stemmed from her very first cookbook, published in 1939. The cooking show, or the series, started in 1949, 10 years after the book.
Wow.
But incredible, incredible talent.
So in terms of anniversaries, we're talking about the cookbook and the cooking show, and how wonderful. And what's really nice, though, it's still in print.
It's still in print, which I love. I discuss this constantly. So whenever I teach my class, I always definitely pay homage to her, because
that's a reprint.
That is definitely a reprint. That's probably one you'll see if you try to Google it and get a copy. It'll look very similar to that. But yeah, I tell people about Chef Lena, or Mama Lena, as we call her, all the time.
And it's also reprinted elsewhere too. But
That is
let's also
correct.
talk about what you do on a regular basis. And we've got some great photos.
Yeah.
You're giving classes at Southern Food and Beverage Museum.
I am. We teach cooking classes. A little bit of the idea of starting a cooking school inside of the museum came from the work that I did with the Smithsonian about Chef Lena Richard, and teaching just our tradition, just teaching culinary cuisine, Cajun food, Creole food, to a lot of people that want to know the ins and outs. They want to know the secrets. So we go through it. I teach them everything they want to know.
I think that's so great, and what's such a good deal too is if you join your class, people can also enjoy seeing the Southern Food and Beverage Museum, which is chock full of local culinary memorabilia.
That's correct. So the premise of our school is not only do you get to cook and eat your way through history, you actually get to visit it inside of a food museum.
That's great. So to learn more about your school, and that's Chef Dee Lavigne.com.
Yeah,
Yes,
correct.
and with the Castle Haley Boulevard, 1504 is where SoFab, as we like to say. But congratulations.
Thank
on
you,
that,
thank
too.
you.
Well, longtime Meters guitarist. Oh my goodness, he's also a composer and so many other things. Actually has big news about an upcoming performance and concert. And he gave us the scoop today, a little bit earlier today in our studios. Let's check it out. Leo, my goodness, the Meters, Sissy Strut, Hey Packaway, very much the Meters was part of your life and continues to be in Grammy Hall of Fame, except that in the 1970s you recorded a quieter side, another side as you call the album,
yes.
At Sea Saint, Hurricane Katrina. Everybody thinks all is lost. It pops up in Los Angeles and eventually at a swap meet.
Yes.
And you find out you've got the album that can come out. And you do this very recently. And now we're celebrating at a concert.
Yeah, it's a crazy story. To make it real quick, a guy by the Mike Nikita, who's with the Beastie Boys, saw these tapes, and he picked them up, and he said, Leo, he called me up, he said, Leo, I have a tape for you. So I said, okay. So he sent it to me. And I said, wow. But little did I know he played it for a record label called Light in the Attic. And they put it out about a year and a half ago, and they can't keep the records in the stores now.
Well, now we're even more celebrating because we're going to have a special concert all because of it. Another Side, a live acoustic reintroduction. It's going to be November 22nd at the Civic. You've got a lot of heavy hitters with you, not only you all, but we've got Ray Parker Jr. as in Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters, Ray Ghostbusters, Parker Jr. He's a good friend of mine over the years.
And Andrews Osborne.
Andrews Osborne.
Jason Neville.
Yes. Arthel Neville is going to be the host with Stanton Moore, the drummer with Galactic. They're going to both host the thing.
And she's going to interview you, too, in addition to performing.
A roundtable discussion before the performance.
Wow,
So,
wow.
I'm really looking forward to do it. I'm doing it a little different,
Yeah.
So I'm glad to have these people aboard and believing in me to do that.
I am thrilled that we're going to get a taste of it tonight. And tell me, first of all, let's meet your fellow band members here.
We have my conga player, Mr. Stephen Perrilloux.
Hey, yay.
Reverend Stephen Perrilloux.
Oh, all right.
And my illustrious younger brother, Angelo Nocentelli.
All right. Very welcome, gentlemen. And what are you playing? Which selection are you playing from the album?
It's one of my favorite songs, lyric-wise. I wrote called Thinking of Tomorrow.
Wow. And once again, from the album Another Side, November 22nd at the Civic. Proceed, gentlemen.
Thinking of tomorrow, but tomorrow never come. I guess I'll be thinking of tomorrow till my life is done. Thinking of the day when I could be with you. I guess I'll be thinking of that day till my life is through. sitting and waiting for the glorious day when I could hold you close and kiss you, pass the time away. Thinking of the moment when I could hold you tight, I could kiss you in the morning, squeeze you at night. I wish that you could hear me while I sing this song. My tomorrow might come real soon, might not take too long.
All right. And once again, Leo's concert will take place Friday, November 22nd at 8 p.m. at the Civic. Go to Ticketmaster.com for more details and information about those tickets. And now, moving over to Richard. Oh my goodness, Elegance and Decadence. I felt like you were just here fairly recently with the wonderful republication of that a book. But this one is a total departure, isn't it?
In many ways it is.
Yeah.
It's a little souvenir book. There's one radical idea behind it in that I did a book that I hoped New Orleanians will buy. Usually this is tailored for tourists, which I hope they buy it as well. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to do something that was very authentic and described the New Orleans that I know and love.
Oh, and we're going to be showing some images and also the size of it. Yes, like you said, a souvenir book.
Yeah.
Yeah, but locals can love it too.
Right. It's a light carry for people that are visiting and are wanting a souvenir of the city.
Now, you had a few little collaborators too in terms of some of the words.
It's a photographic book, but in the back matter, which I refer to as the lanyap section, there are these written contributions. Mimi Reed did a book list. Also, Randy Delahanty did a true or false New Orleans history quiz. He did a lifetime Mardi Gras planner, 50 years of Mardi Gras dates, along with an explanation of what the holiday actually is about and what it means. And then the concluding piece in the lanyap section is an interview that I did with David Clements, the owner of Snake and Jake's Christmas Club Lounge. I originally wanted the book to have an introduction written by a dive bar owner because I thought that was perfect for a book about New Orleans. Mm-hmm. But it was hard to find one with just the right literary ambitions.
Forgive me, I have to stop you because we have to talk about this photograph.
Oh yeah, do you know those folks?
We didn't know that picture was being taken. And not that that mattered, because it's a joy, it's so much fun. But this is a very important Mardi Gras, personally, for us, because that's the Mardi Gras right after Katrina. It's Mardi Gras Day. Yes. And as some folks may know, we are busy Mardi Gras night with that Rex Ball broadcast. But we try to at least get out on the streets for a few hours beforehand. And this is at the Country Flame on, what is it, Bienville?
Bienville.
We were starving.
Right. it's a popular spot for people waiting for Rex to arrive.
Yeah,
on Canal
there you
Street.
go. Well, I
half
guess
block
we were
away.
sort of doing that, right? But we
Right.
had to go back and do some more homework too. And then this, is that right after Katrina too?
That was, no, that was
No.
during COVID when we had no Mardi Gras. There was no Mardi Gras that year, and it's a double-tagged mattress. I Miss Mardi Gras becomes I'm Miss Mardi Gras. That was on the neutral ground in St. Claude Avenue.
Wow.
for a
Well,
few
Richard,
days.
I mean, the inevitable question, I'm sure you have, gazillions of photographs, that had to be pretty challenging in terms of what were you going to choose to include, huh?
Well, I wanted, when you do a souvenir book, you're expected to have the usual things like a skyline of the city and landmarks of the city, and if there are festivals or other things that go on, those should be included. And they are in here, but I always try to include them in a different way. And so there's a shot of the Superdome, but it's one
That was
likely
wonderful,
never
yeah.
that you just saw. You only see that if you live in Gretna across the river. And a lot of people do, but that's not the usual view
No.
of the Superdome that you see. So getting the church spire in there was important because, it's kind of is a religion what goes on inside that building. And New Orleans is the only
Yes.
National Football League team with a religious name. So there's some appropriate things about that. So I constantly try to reference those things. It's really a look at New Orleans culture.
Now, the folks kind of covered in mud, is that at the Jazz Fest?
That is one of those years that it rained severely. And so they were
very
dancing in the
dramatic.
mud. It was a quagmire. But it really represents New Orleans, I think, in a special way, because here is celebration amid adversity, and that's a local trait.
For sure.
So that was one of those rainy Jazz Fest years.
Wow, wow. Now, I think of course, New Orleans Elegance and Decadence, you and Randy Delahanty, but there are a few other books too. There's Vestiges of Grandeur.
Yes, that was the
about
River Road.
River Roads,
And then Creole World was really centered around New Orleans. It included many photographs of places in Latin America which had some sort of kindred relationship.
And I know there are more than that, but I just wanted to kind of point out that you
I've
have
done
quite
several,
the
but
portfolio.
This is the first book exclusively devoted to New Orleans, like in 30 years, going back all the way back to Elegance and Decadence.
Yeah, well, congratulations. Let's talk about some book signings on November 14th, Garden District Books. And then Snake and Jake's up in the town of Carrollton, as we like to say it, at the Christmas Club Lounge. And that's November 29th from 6 p.m. I love the until, okay?
Yes.
And
When
Snake and
you're
Jake's,
doing
the
event at a
bar.
dive bar, you don't have to
Yeah.
go home at all.
Yeah, until.
You can move in.
And
You can
then
move
we've got your website there too, the RichardSextonStudio.com. But congratulations.
Thank you.
It's great news. And time for picks. First up, the New Orleans Opera Association will present a concert version of Samson and Delilah on Friday evening and Sunday afternoon at the Mahalia Jackson Theater. Here's an exclusive excerpt featuring Rianne Bryce Davis. And thanks to photographer Craig Kramer for shooting that. Go to NewOrleansOpera.org for tickets. And on Saturday, there's an open house at the Mid-City Art Studios from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. This is Singin' the Blues by Brenda Dell. Go to MidCityArtStudios.com, Toulouse at North Murat. The Symphony Book Fair will have a free pop-up on Saturday at their new warehouse area at 623 Distributors Row in Elmwood. Many books, games, and collectibles. Don't forget the Treme Creole Gumbo Festival. That's Saturday and Sunday at Armstrong Park. Food, music, and art market. And now, Poppy.
Well, if you are a beer lover, pay attention right now because Freitgeist Beer Kultur is doing a tap takeover tomorrow starting at 4 p.m. until the tap runs out at Koshan Butcher. And if you know beer, you know how special that will be.
And once again, Chef Dee, your website.
It's chefdeelavigne.com.
Okay. And Richard, you have got some other book signings here.
I do. On Friday, December the 13th, I'll be at participating in Photo NOLA, which is the annual photography festival in New Orleans. December 13th, 7 to 9 p.m. And then also on Saturday, December 14th at the Photo NOLA Book Fair, 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. So please come. That's a long time to be flagging books.
That's right. And the work of the late artist Jim Zor will be shown this Saturday at the Art Conscious Studios at 6601 St. Claude Avenue from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Phil Melanson and friends, including Rich Look, are at it again, honoring the Great American Songbook, this time Hoagie Carmichael. Opening this Sunday and then next Thursday and Sunday, all at the Monkey Hill Cabaret Magazine. You can RSVP at melonsongs@gmail.com or 504-202-0986. Before we say goodnight, just a few scenes from Halloween in Mid-City. Costumes depicted a menagerie that included a chicken, ducks, cows, and even a dinosaur. Oh, look how cute. There's the ducky. And there was a cheerleader, and there's your dinosaur. Not as many superheroes this year, but the trick-or-treaters and their families all brave the rain. So they rank as heroes in my book, and so cute. And finally, the rain stopped, very crazy. Anyway, thanks for watching. Good night.
Programming on WYES is made possible in part by Susie and Pierre G. Villery.
From Masterpiece to Nova, Antiques Roadshow to Agatha Christie.
And of course, Steppin Out and Informed Sources.
We are pleased to support public television.
It's been our passion.
For a lifetime.
The New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation promotes, preserves, and perpetuates music, culture, and heritage through programs, cultural, educational, and economic activities year-round. Learn more at jazzandheritage.org. This program is brought to you in part by the Eugenie and Joseph Jones Family Foundation, a local foundation proud to support education, the arts, and culture in the greater New Orleans area. The Chicory House Bistro at the Rink offers breakfast and lunch daily. And now a new bar upstairs inside the Garden District Bookshop, 2727 Britannia Street at Washington Avenue. Learn more at therinknola.com.